I don't really care what the trigger event is. It could be a pandemic, could be the grid goes down, an asteroid could hit.
This is a doomsday prepper showing me one of his secret locations made to survive society's collapse.
I don't care if Mother Teresa is out there with 3 orphans. We will not give food to anyone.
Prepping began in the 1950s, driven by fears of nuclear collapse, leading many Americans to build fallout shelters. And it's evolved over time, but since 2017, the number of preppers has doubled due to growing tensions in politics, economy, and environment. So I wanted to spend the day with the mastermind behind the survival community to understand, are preppers just radical, far-right conspiracy theorists? Is America and society headed for collapse, or is it just fear-mongering?
The biggest threat, it's artificial intelligence. This technology is going to kill most of mankind and might destroy the planet.
And if society collapses, how afraid should we be? All I knew going in was the show Doomsday Preppers, and so that's honestly what I was expecting.
First rule of prepping, by the way, is don't tell anyone you're a prepper. Our location is confidential.
It's kind of like Fight Club in a way.
It's exactly that way.
So you're saying this is like the tallest log watchtower, you said?
Tallest log building, period, in the world.
In the world?
Do you want to strap up now?
Yeah, let's do it. Strap me up. So is this like rule number 1 is to always be strapped here?
Well, in a collapse, it absolutely is. If there's a marauder group, they're not just going to come blundering in and attack you. They're going to look at you. They're going to send out observers. They're going to spy on you. We want them to decide, no way in hell do we want to attack these guys.
So he showed me around the tower from the rooms to how it was built, and now brought me up to the top to see how they can see threats from miles away.
This deck is plastic lumber. It'll flex. Don't feel like you're going to fall.
So how many acres
We have 26 acres.
26.
Here. Yeah. RV area. See a giant tank there? That's a 1,000-gallon propane tank. You don't normally see them that big. And that puppy is always topped off because that's our propane generator. Marauder group could come through here, so we got a guard station over there pointing at that.
So as you'll see later on, from their weapons to their food, it was clearly well thought out. But I was still curious, because what were they exactly prepping for?
Wow, you went to Harvard.
Yeah, Harvard. I saw your video on
my.
Harvard. I'm an analyst. I was in the intelligence field as in the Air Force. And so I've studied threats, and that's why I'm a prepper. No one can study CRISPR and biotechnology or artificial intelligence and come to any conclusion except that this technology is going to kill most of mankind and might destroy the planet. It will eventually. It's inevitable.
So what do you think is the most likely outcome?
We call it a trigger event. I don't really care what the trigger event is. It could be a pandemic, could be the grid goes down, an asteroid could hit, throw up, block out the clouds. And the biggest threat, it's artificial intelligence. The threat of artificial intelligence is not bad computers and bad robots. The threat of artificial intelligence is bad people. Well, what if you're some religious fanatic and think that or you're a biologist who thinks that there's too many people? I'm going to design a virus or design a nanotechnology disaster to kill off almost all the people, and now I've saved the planet.
Interesting.
Even crappy North Korea with their crappy little nuclear force can destroy the US electric grid whenever they want. And when our grid goes down, you lose municipal water systems, the economy won't function.
Everything.
Our military doesn't function either. So that's how you destroy the United States, is you do an attack on our electric grid, and when that happens, it's game over. Well, preppers know that, and that's why preppers follow first rule of prepping is don't tell them when you're a prepper, because they don't want people to know that, hey, I got a basement full of stuff. So 14 Ranch, we are the nation's, probably the world's largest recreational and survival community, and we have both. So when you come here in good times, you vacation, but in bad times, we turn into a survival community, and our members know that.
And so it remains to be seen whether this whole world-ending thing is valid, and whether you and I should be doing something to prepare. Because every day we hear all these different ways in which the world is going to go to shit. Whether that's something out of our control like a pandemic or a disaster, to an all-out war.
You must stay at home.
Riots breaking out in city after city.
Vladimir Putin is not joking.
Это не блеф.
But what's interesting is that people with probably the most exclusive access to what's going on in the world have now started to prep. Over the last few years, tech billionaires are buying up luxury bunkers and military security to survive a societal collapse. Like Mark Zuckerberg literally just bought a $270 million private bunker in Hawaii.
Is there something that Mark Zuckerberg seems to know that we don't?
And it's not just him. People like Shaq, Kim Kardashian, Tom Cruise are installing private bunkers inside of their own homes, as well as tech investors like Peter Thiel are getting passports in other countries like New Zealand to build bunkers there.
Got some pretty big holes in Colorado, and there's a lot of bunkers in New Zealand too that are owned by billionaires.
And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video, because if billionaires and preppers are becoming the same, are we the crazy ones for not preparing for the worst? Because take a look at this for an example.
I am preparing for a worldwide pandemic.
This video of a pandemic prepper was filmed 12 years ago. And if you look at the comments, literally everyone is calling her a Karen, but now she's probably laughing her ass off in her bunker. So I wanted to confront him on what he knows that we don't and see exactly what and how they were preparing for. Because as the saying goes, are you crazy until you're not? So we'll get into it. And first, I've been wanting to tell you about this upcoming event in which you can compete for $1 million. All you have to do is download and play My Vegas Slots for a chance to win a trip for you and a +1 to the Bahamas and a seat at the My VIP World Tournament of Slots. And as a sponsor of this video, it's happening this October 24th to the 27th at the Atlantis Paradise Island Resort, where 500 of the luckiest players will compete in this high stakes event, with qualification rounds on Friday and the finals on Saturday. And by playing My Vegas Slots, you can walk around the virtual 3D Vegas Strip and enter real Vegas resorts like the MGM and Bellagio and play original and official slot machines from Bridesmaids, Clubhouse, Kong, and Happy Dogs. And you have opportunities to win all summer long, but the sooner you start playing, the more chances you'll have to win. So join over 90 million My Vegas players by using my link in the description for your chance to win and enter this tournament. Now, back to the video.
So no air conditioning in here, but you can feel the difference when you go underground.
What's your best weapon that you personally like shooting the most?
It would probably be this. This is a long-range sniper.
Oh, the sniper.
I mean, for close in, I'll still take a 12-gauge shotgun. If it's close in, I'd rather have a 12-gauge pump. The AR is a great weapon, but this thing makes a lot of power behind it. It's a lot harder to miss. So we've got, steel helmets for guards, the night vision equipment. So at night, if a deer is coming into our garden to eat, we obviously want to shoot that deer. We can't shoot with the rifle. That's going to scare members, wake them up, and they're going to, we'll have an injury potentially rushing to defend ourselves. That's why we got crossbows. So we can shoot the deer with that. This is our radiation detector. These are very important. We have 2 of these at every location because you can't afford to be without a radiation detector. But the main thing we stockpile are rice, wheat berries. It's basically wheat that you grind up into flour, pinto beans, and rice. Again, it's all about calories. So if you step in here, more.
Wow.
A lot more food storage.
Well, there you go. There's your toilet paper. That might be the currency of the future,
I want to make it absolutely clear. We do not promise a year of toilet paper to our
I mean, if you saw COVID, that was a currency of...
vitamins. That's another important thing to stockpile is vitamins. And then we have a variety of food. So there's some fun stuff. You got to have a lot of salt. There is a little bit of coffee. We don't rely on electricity. We've got wood stoves, so you can run this on a wood stove all the time.
I'm curious. I'm sure you've gotten called this many, many times. The conspiracy theorist. Does that affect you anymore? Or did it early?
No, that doesn't have anything to do with purpose. There are some people who, think that, well, I'll give you one, that, FEMA wants to do concentration camps. I've heard that rumor before.
What is that, like FEMA?
FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Association. Some people say, oh, FEMA that wants to do concentration camps, and that's just nonsense. We've got real threats to worry about. FEMA's not our enemy. They're not going to be able to help us. So remember Hurricane Katrina?
Yeah.
So Katrina, FEMA was in charge of the relief efforts there, and they did a pretty bad job. Do you realize that most U.S. states sent Guard troops to help in the Katrina recovery effort? It was just one little localized area. In a collapse, everyone's And when the grid goes down across the U.S., everyone's in trouble. And the other thing is, nowadays there's so much more interest in marauding, whether it's due to Walking Dead or what the reason. There's just so much more interest in marauding. Another example is flash mobs. I should have mentioned that earlier. Those things happen more and more. Well, it happens all the time in California, the Home Depot thing.
Yeah.
Where these mobs go in.
Like the luxury stores too.
Yeah, Nordstrom's, whatever it was, quite a few of them. There's so much more of that Americans are just getting more and more trained to maraud.
And so there seems to be many ways that society could collapse, from the electrical grid to the political divide. But before we went to the shooting range, he wanted to show me how people were gonna live in this survival community.
So this is a luxury room here.
A toilet right next to the bedroom?
This is, it's a private room. This is their private toilet, their private sink. So this is an older couple, but this is their stuff. So most of our members will do this. We have food that we stockpile, but they want more toilet paper. So they brought more toilet paper. They stockpile food. Because a lot of our members are preppers before they join, so they've already got stuff.
Is there like a common profile of people that are like your clients? Like, do they tend to lean left, right, have certain interests?
They do tend to be libertarian. Libertarians understand that the government isn't going to be able to protect you in a collapse. Democrats tend to believe that the government will take care of you, and the Democratic Party wants people to believe that. They want a dependent population. They love welfare programs. They love social programs. Look at Bernie Sanders. He's a socialist. So if you believe the government's going to take care of you, why would you prepare?
So do you guys always have like guns placed strategically anywhere?
Again, every member has to have a weapon, and most people have a rifle and a pistol. Now this is not normal. This is a really large luxury room. Most of our rooms are quite a bit smaller than this. These are shelf-stable meal bars.
Are they good?
They're not. They're not good.
I don't think anything that's considered food that looks like this could be good.
In a collapse, when you're starving to death, you'll think it's
like
the greatest thing.
What is it?
It's basically, it's a lot like a sea ration from World War II. It's grain and stuff compacted together, very, very dense. You're trying to get as many calories as you can.
Is there like meat in it, or?
No, it's not meat. Well, I'll tell you, sugar, wheat, flour, palm shortening, cornstarch. Yeah, this is carbs. This is calories. This is calories to keep you alive. So this is our kitchen. So wood stoves, we've got the pipes over here. This is our wood stove here.
Yeah, I guess how's food gonna be? Are you just gonna be hunting the animals that are here?
Absolutely, we're hunting everything that moves. So snakes, we'll eat snakes.
Damn.
Wild boar, a lot of wild boar is good. Now, if it's an old meal, I'm not going to eat that for people, but we're certainly going to make dog food out of it. Our guard dogs will eat it.
They look very distrustful.
These are Dorper meat sheep. So you don't grow these sheep for wool. You grow them strictly for meat. And they can reproduce fairly quickly. They're really good survival sheep.
Do they taste good?
I think so.
Oh my God, oh shit.
So as I mentioned earlier, billionaires are now starting to prep, but that still doesn't account for why the number of preppers has literally doubled over the last 7 years. And what it's done is that it's changed the face of the typical prepper from what it used to be. Because let's be real, you thought of a certain profile when you clicked on this video or thought of a prepper, right? I mean, I did, because what's been most interesting is that more minorities, people considered left of center politically, have now begun to prep. And I think a big part of this has been the diversity and inclusion programs like Queers for Prepping that really got a lot of people into it. I'm kidding. Bad joke. But in all seriousness, it makes sense. Whether it be in the past, like Hurricane Katrina, to the 2008 global financial crisis, to the more recent examples like the pandemic, people in our generation have seen a lot of major institutions fail, as well as systems. And I think what people, no matter what side of the political aisle or how rich you are realizing is that when shit hits the fan, it will impact everyone. And it makes sense why there's a demand for survival communities like this. But whether it be investing in your own bunker or buying into one other trend that has been interesting to see has been the increase in gun sales.
They saw 30% more gun sales last month than the previous.
Like even my pops, who's around 60 and never really shot guns throughout his life at all, has recently bought a gun just a few years ago because of the uncertainty and a lot of the political divide. And so I was curious to see how these guys prep with guns and what will probably be the most important tool if things go to shit.
I was in the Marine Corps for 15 years as a military policeman. You know, I was looking for a community to be a part of because I had been part of one when I was in the military. And then I found Drew while I was searching online, and then found out that he actually hires people who are veterans. So I came out here. I've been out here for 2 years now.
All right, then let's do a bet. Who can get a bullseye? Ooh. It's a lot louder than I thought.
Yeah, so aren't you glad you...
Yeah. Oh my God, the first bullet like caught me off guard.
So grab onto this, pull it back all the way. Now it should have put a round in the chamber.
Got it.
There's the safety right there. So just when you're ready, once you get yourself on target, put it on fire.
It's not gonna fuck up my cheek, is it?
No, you'll be surprised. It's not super powerful. Is it what you expected?
Yeah.
It is? Okay. Right.
Wow, that was awesome. Can I ask you a serious scenario that could happen? Like,
sure.
Let's say if shit goes to fan, and you guys have everything perimeter secured, and a wife or like a mom and like a daughter comes walking up, asking you guys for like help. Would you guys be merciful in that? Would you take the shot?
Maybe people could band together and consider, making a care package for them or something. But I would have to be like we're being extremely generous doing this, but you have to move on from this. You can't rely on us. Yeah.
We will not give food to anyone. I don't care if Mother Teresa is out there with 3 orphans. We will not give her any food. And the reason is, I don't know how long a collapse is going to last. I got a contract, a promise to my members to keep them alive, and we're focused on that. If I give away any kind of food and the collapse lasts longer and our members now start starving to death, that's on me. So we have an absolute policy. Only members can be here in a collapse. We don't give away anything.
How about if it was like your family and friends, but didn't join? How would you treat that?
I would give some of my personal things to them, but I would tell them you knew. It's not like I didn't tell you. It's not like you didn't know. I'm sorry, but you have to do your thing.
Keep the gun pointed out.
Yeah, so keep it pointed down there. You can just sit it down.
Okay.
Make sure you put it back on safe.
Safety.
Hey, look. Yeah, you got.
Okay, I got one headshot.
And then you're off a little bit.
Oh my God, I wasn't even close. Oof. I feel like I just completely missed. Also, is it better to go like this? Like.
Yeah, I usually close one. Don't look at the target. Focus on this while you're pulling the trigger.
Did I get a bullseye? You gotta catch up, man. Although I fire like 20 bullets. So.
Yeah, it looks like you.
Oh, look at that.
You hit the dirt once, but then you ended up with the first bullseye of the day.
Let's go.
There you go.
Let's go. I mean, I have to be like honest too, because like everything that you guys have shown me today, and we're about to get into, I feel like very unprepared. I mean, I've realized that, right?
Yes.
And I knew that going into this too. But do you feel like, in a way, a lot of like modern humans have been kind of stripped away or not prioritized being prepared when kind of like that line of civilization could also just be chopped off very, very quickly?
There's such a reliance on everybody else. There's my plumbing is going out. There's a guy to take care of that. I don't want to go to Burger King and get a hamburger. The guy will bring it to me.
And I think what I realized is that as a modern man, we do not know how to do jack shit. The modern man today can order food, find love, learn information, be entertained, all on a phone, all while taking a shit. And in many ways, I'm no better, right? I live right in the city where I have access to a Target or a Whole Foods and literally anything from what I wipe my ass with to the 20,000 different brands of cereal and chips right at my disposal. But hey, your boy can shoot them. And so as modern humans, we've lost this need for survival skills as we become more and more disconnected from how we get our food, water, to different products. But at the same time, I can't help but think that this obsession, or in some instances, hope that the world ends, is even realistic, or is it more so like this part of human nature to want to appease this discomfort that we have with death. And what I mean by this is because there's been predictions before, right? From the millennium apocalypse in year 1000 to Y2K in 2000 to the Mayan apocalypse more recently in 2012. And none of this obviously happened, but these also won't be the last. But that's not the only evidence for it, right? Like, we're fascinated with this concept of the world ending, whether it's the amount of views these sorts of bunker videos get, to media like The Walking Dead, to I Am Legend, and now, which, very much, this could happen, the theory that AI is going to replace us all. And so I'd be curious to know what you guys think in the comments, but I at least was starting to view prepping way differently than when I came into it. But now I wanted to really challenge him, because is all this necessary, or is all of this about profiting off of people's fears?
My job is
Looking at
I
trends,
need
in a
to
way.
know what's happening.
Right.
And if I see something coming, I can contact my people directly. If you guys live in that area and you have to evacuate, you could come here.
I see. So in a way, like, when things and trends and incidents happen, it's kind of like a good marketing push for you guys. Is that fair to say?
It is.
That sounds a little bit like predatory, like, if I frame it that way, but
So this is a form of insurance. This is just a life insurance for if everything else totally collapses.
Anyone can have a situation where you become a marauder if you're starving to death. And military people sit up and recognize it, but preppers in general, they're people who are realists, and they recognize that when law and order vanishes, and it can vanish easily, people are going to do bad things to stay alive. And we saw that in the United States over the past several years. People say it was the COVID pandemic. It really wasn't COVID. It was more Portland, places where they saw rioting going on,
That's where
and
I'm
police lost control. All it takes in any city, you name the city, I don't care how great your police force is, how well behaved they are, if hundreds to 1,000 people decide to go out looting, you cannot stop them.
I think the biggest theme is that you guys all kind of distrust the government. Or else you wouldn't be prepping, right?
It's not just the government, but the government can't help us all in a thing. So, I mean, the government can't take care of all of us and in every situation. So, it's just kind of,
The police and the National Guard, their top priority is protect the governor, protect the city officials. So they now have to assign more policemen for protecting the government. So the first thing that happens in a collapse is your threat level goes up, people are out looting and marauding, and the number of policemen available to protect you goes down.
So whether you or a prepper believes that society's collapse is going to come down to a new pandemic, the electric grid failing, or a civil war, I think there's one thing in common. In the book Tribe by Sebastian Junger, a former war correspondent, explains this perfectly. In his book, he explores how modern life, despite its comforts and stability, has led to feelings of isolation, depression, and a lack of meaning. But during moments of great instability, hardship, and crisis like war or a disaster, what he found is that people acted differently. An example, right after 9/11, he found that people from all backgrounds surprisingly found solidarity and a great sense of purpose. 400,000 volunteers participated in the rescue and recovery. 500,000 units of blood were donated, and over $2 billion was contributed to charities. And what Junger found is that just how people have an instinct to survive, they also have an instinct to bond and cooperate as a tribe during times of stress and hardship.
I know you mentioned mental health as like a priority when shit does go down. Do you feel like a lot of members might actually be happier than they were before? In the sense
During
that
a
they have
collapse?
a sense of purpose, they're out in nature. What do you think about that?
The biggest problem is that, not everyone is going to be protected. So
Sure.
you're going to be upset by, other family members and friends
Sure.
who aren't going to make it through a collapse. You'll get to make some pretty good friends during a collapse, and
Sure.
you may want to go back together and maybe, work together, cooperate.
So this shows that hard times bring people together, but there's a catch. Because if there's a tribe, that must mean that there's other tribes, and more likely, another enemy. Because at the same time there was solidarity amongst many Americans, there was also a 1,700% increase in hate crimes where not only innocent Muslims were targeted, but also anyone perceived to be Middle Eastern or South Asian. Balbir Singh Sodhi was one such innocent man, though he wasn't even Muslim but a Sikh, but he was shot and killed outside a gas station. And what I realized is that as much as I love to believe that when law and order breaks down that we as humans will band together, it's more likely that it will be more in the form of smaller tribes that people create for community and to ensure survival. And oftentimes this common enemy will be used and even needed to create a greater sense of this community and overall purpose. So I think what this says is that in order for us to achieve world peace as humans, we're gonna need like an alien to invade us. Because as much as I love to believe that humans are fundamentally good, maybe the truth is that we're more so selfish, in that when it comes to survival, selfish things might be done in order to survive. And if anyone watching at this point can agree, is that what the show Doomsday Preppers got wrong is that maybe these preppers aren't really as crazy as they may seem, and at the very least, it probably can't hurt for all of us to prepare in some way. And just like we do with all the topics in our channel, is that unless we go and talk to these people that we may write off as crazy, we'll only ever see the world through the media's lens that they create for you. Because remember, not everything is the end of the world, and not everyone is as crazy as they seem. And so don't click off yet, because you can now click the link in the description to learn more about how we can start taking the next step of leading the future of journalism together. But if you want to support another way, you can subscribe to our free weekly newsletter where we deliver you that one big story that you need to know every week to stay informed, but without the bias. But if you want to just see the next video, you can click here.